When joining this experience, let's say, how was that for you? Because these guys have known each other so well, Nick and Simon. How did you come on board, let's say?
I got a call from my agent saying Simon Pegg wanted to meet about a project he was writing. And it was actually, we met the day that my movie Superbad was opening in America, and Simon had just finished shooting a film in New York City, and he had been up all night. So I was nervous, he was exhausted, and this was the perfect distraction. He started telling me about this film, and I was already a big fan of his, and he had seen a little indie film I made years ago called Day Trippers, but he hadn't seen Superbad yet. So he went off and watched that, finished the script, and to my shock and delight, he called me in 6 months and said, "Do you want to read it?" And I immediately called him back and said, "Yes, I want to do this." And you know, lucky for me, Edgar Wright was not available. I knew that I was intimidated because I'm a huge fan of Edgar Wright and he's a genius. So I thought, well, you know, he'll do a better job, but he's not available, so someone's got to do it.
That whole Comic-Con world, how was that to be part of that, or were you already part of that because you're a geek yourself?
Well, you know, I was a child geek quite a bit. I mean, I read a lot of science fiction. I was obsessed with sci-fi movies as a kid and comic books, and but back then in the 80s, there wasn't this culture. It was much more underground, and eventually, I stopped reading comic books and started unsuccessfully chasing women. So I you know, don't read comics the way I used to, but I still love sci-fi, and I've been to Comic-Con a bunch of times. We even went there with Superbad, and it's an amazing place, and I used to draw a lot too, and I love graphic art, so I love the whole world of graphic novels. And
yeah, because Simon and Nick, of course, are superstars in that world. I mean,
yeah, no, Simon and Nick, if they show up on the floor of Comic-Con, they get mobbed like Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. It's insane. It's crazy.
So the guys are taking a road trip. They have done an actual road trip to prepare for this movie, I understand. Have you ever done that in your life, and what are your own experiences in that regard?
You know, I love a road trip. Now that I'm a dad, there's no time for it. Maybe when the kids get older, we'll all go to Area 51 together. I regret that I wasn't able. They took their road trip before I was on board this, and yeah, they drove the path of the movie, and they. But they're wimps because they took a driver.
There you go. But it's
they're so Hollywood, you know.
Yeah. Exactly. But it's such an American tradition, I guess. Isn't that something that your parents drag you on at some point in your life?
Yeah,
supposedly?
well, because it's a big, dull country with a lot of places to drive. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's no, and also it's a great American tradition of the post-college drunken, irresponsible road trip.
Yeah.
Did some of those too.
Now, the script, of course, makes fun of a lot of American cliches, let's say, the gun-toting religious fanatics. Are you expecting a lot of criticism for that?
I'm very curious. I mean, you know, as Simon said yesterday, that if anybody is really going to get offended by a movie about a road trip with an alien, then they should probably look at their belief system a little bit. But you know, it's a touchy subject. It's touchier now than when we started making the film. I mean, just because of events in America and sort of the last election and the Tea Party and all that. You know, my feeling is America could stand a little ribbing. And you know, I hope, frankly, that goes over well with the people who agree.
But you weren't offended in any way or form when you originally read that script?
Well, I am a creationist, and I do believe that Jesus walked with the dinosaurs. No, I don't. Yeah, no, I wasn't offended. It made me laugh, I have to admit.
You're working here, of course, also with the wonderful Sigourney Weaver, who has been cast as the tough chick throughout all her career. Yeah. Was it fun to play with that image? Yeah,
well, the part was originally written for the big bad guy in the movie was originally a male character, and we were thinking, you know, we wanted somebody iconic in the film somewhere. And Sigourney is also an incredibly funny actress. I mean, going back to movies like Working Girl, there's a film called The TV Set that was a low-budget film a friend of mine made that she's in, that she's hilarious. It's sort of a similar character. And I just thought, well, who could be really, really funny and scary and look amazing in a dress getting out of a helicopter? And you know, and she was so game, she was so much fun, she was so with it and ready to be silly and ridiculous and also play it straight, and yeah, so it was a giant thrill.